Okay, so I hope this works. Um, for my topic, I decided to choose the National Guard and how they aid in homeland security and emergency management. Um, I kind of just wanted to go into this topic because I feel like they were always mentioned in the book and in the textbook. However, they never really went into like true depth outside of just like stories of how they did help, but never really like going into depth about who the National Guard was or is and what exactly that they do. So this is a PowerPoint that I created with all sorts of different information on it. But the National Guard is an integral component of the U.S. military that is uniquely empowered to respond to both domestic crises and overseas conflicts. It is over nearly 400 years old and has transformed from a loose collection of colonial militias into a well-trained and equipped force of civilian soldiers. Kind of just going to jump around here, but the history of it is that it traces its origins to the militias established by the American colonies. The term National Guard was popularized by Marquis de Lafayette to describe each state's militia. It didn't become an official term until 1916. The Guard's birthday is December 13th, 1636, when the Massachusetts Bay Colony created the colony's first militia regiments. Those, as you guys would know based on history classes, were known as the Minutemen. So the Minutemen kind of like evolved into today's concept of the National Guard. It wasn't until the early 20th century, however, that the passage of the 1903 Militia Act was passed that transformed the like loosely defined Guard into the regiment that it is today. The Guard is overseen by the federal level by the National Guard Bureau, the head of which is a 4-star general and member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the military's top advisory body. They can also be deployed by the president, and they can be requested by the states themselves. There are currently about 450,000 Guard members in total, serving in 54 separate organizations across the 50 states, Washington, D.C., and 3 U.S. territories, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. I'm actually going to jump over to 10 lesser known facts about the National Guard. And I believe it was here that they mentioned that, let me see. Oh yeah, only 2 presidents have served in the National Guard in its modern structure, Harry S. Truman and George W. Bush. And then also that the American Samoa is the only territory of the U.S. to not have a National Guard unit, compared to Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. So kind of jumping back to the first page, the National Guard is unique among the U.S. Armed Forces in that it can perform state as well as federal functions. The Guard is genuinely called upon to respond to state-level emergencies such as natural disasters, but unlike most of the other military forces, it can also serve a domestic law enforcement role, and it can serve overseas. The National Guard is separated into 2 different parts, the Army National Guard and then the Air National Guard. I kind of go in to describe what each Guard unit like sort of constitutes of. The Army National Guard became an essential part of the U.S. Army, transitioning into a highly lethal combat force able to meet the requirements of the national military strategy and national defense strategy. And the Air National Guard kind of wanted to reform from its focused tasks as policing the Indians to develop into the nation's like primary role to engage in combat against other major industrial powers. So it kind of focused on developing and like including the use of radios, automobiles, trucks, machine guns, and aircraft to operate. And like I said, the book always mentions that the National Guard, but like never really expanded on them. They help in many different instances. However, what I'm going to focus on now is specifically disaster relief and emergency aid. So the National Guard provides disaster relief, military support, law enforcement, election support, and then also I'm kind of jumping back again, or jumping forward to evacuations, and then they also help with debris clearing and setting security perimeters, transporting supplies, and manning points of distribution. So they also aid in wildfires, hurricanes, and tornadoes, as well as human-made disasters such as hazardous chemical spills and large-scale electrical power disruptions. So back in February 2021, when that huge winter storm hit Texas and basically cut out all the power, the National Guard was deployed there to make sure that the shelters were getting enough supplies, were getting enough heat, because they had the cars and the trucks that were capable to drive in storm weather, in winter storm conditions such as Texas was experiencing, which does not typically experience. Emergency services of state or local may have robust plans to deal with the unexpected, but sometimes disasters strike that overwhelm their resources and manpower. In such cases, the National Guard can play a vital role in saving lives, stemming suffering, and protecting property. They also work with a lot of other host agencies, such as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA, what we were learning about, and state governments. These partnerships involve various planning and operations activities that aim to quickly resolve problems created by disasters. And for the main peer-reviewed document that I use was actually a document that was declassified by the U.S. Army, which completely went into detail. I believe it was in 1997. It went into detail about the capabilities, roles, and organization of the National Guard and how it was founded, and the privilege and responsibility for able-bodied citizens to bear arms for the common defense of their community and nation. And it completely goes into like major detail. So I would definitely recommend, if you have time, it's a long one, it's 44 pages, but it outlines the map of how things sort of like fold into one another. And then I can find the image that I wanted to use that would be helpful. Oh yeah, and how it gets broken up into Federal Emergency Management Agency regional boundaries, and which National Guard in the area gets deployed to which region. So super, super interesting. Oh, this kind of goes into how the National Guard helped during Hurricane Sandy, and it kind of breaks down the time frame of it. But they were ready to respond because of previous warnings, and through mutual assistance agreements, the Army National Guard, ground, and aviation task forces from neighboring FEMA region states are ready to meet gaps in mission command, medical, communications, logistics, transportation, engineering, civil support, maintenance, security, and aviation. And this was a really interesting video. Basically, just it highlights everything that and the importance of what they did in that time period. But anyways, yeah, so this is the topic that I decided to go into. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about it as much as I did, and definitely going into depth about what exactly the National Guard is and where they came from and how they help.